championship so close you can taste it.
Oliver Askew has won the Freedom 100.
Sting Ray Robb, side by side. And your new champion, Kirkwood Rasmussen.
Good afternoon, Road to Indy fans. We are ready for race one of the Indy Lights Championship, and what a better way to kick it off than the 2019 Indy Lights champion, Oliver Askew. Oliver, thanks for coming on to talk a little bit about Indy Lights with me.
Good to be here.
What are you feeling for the Indy Lights Championship? They're back after a one-year break.
It's strange to think that this race is the first since Laguna in 2019. So, these drivers have they were hurting last year. Some of them were able to do some races, but most were out for the season. So, good to see Indy Lights back.
Yeah, very good to be back. I guess you could say you're the defending Indy Lights champion.
Well, I'm not really defending it, but yeah, I guess you could say that.
What have you heard, obviously, just to run through a couple quick things of changes to the championship? Obviously, starting at Barber Motorsports Park is a change. Normally, we'd start at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
Second change, the halo. What have you heard these drivers have talked about with the halo?
I don't really think it's a talking point, to be honest. I mean, obviously, it's you can't take it off now because then you kind of just feel naked. It's such a good safety improvement to the car. That's an understatement. It makes these cars so much safer, and these guys definitely like having it on for sure.
I would agree. I think the halo-type device is definitely a step in the right direction. Everybody that I've talked to says they don't even notice it. With the aero screen last year, how much did you notice that in IndyCar?
If you haven't driven a closed cockpit car before, it is different because you don't have any wind. So without having the wind, you hear different things. You hear the tires a little bit more, which is a change. As far as the vision goes, unless there's a big sun glare and some water on the windscreen, the vision's pretty good. So, the IndyCar Series and I believe PPG and Red Bull Technologies did a fantastic job putting that thing together.
Awesome. And lastly, before we cut to the Indy Lights race, I got to ask, number one, Oliver, who's your pick?
I got to go with my man Kyle Kirkwood.
Well, he's a big
Right.
talking point. So what's going on there at the Andretti Juggernaut? I see you're hanging out with them this weekend. This is probably the first time that I've seen them be a considerable amount off the pace.
Yeah, those HMD guys definitely have their cars together this weekend. This David Malukas and Lundqvist, they're no slouches either. So fantastic drivers here in the Indy Lights Championship. It's going to be a pretty competitive series, I think. Kyle and I grew up together, both from the same town, so that's my pick for this one. And also a big Andretti Autosports fan.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Oliver Askew's got his money on Kyle Kirkwood and the defending Indy Lights champions.
I don't have my money on him. I want him to win. But do I think he's going to win?
Do you think he's going to win?
With no push to pass here this weekend, Barber Motorsports Park, it's one of the most difficult tracks to pass on. It's going to be hard for Kyle. Honestly, I think those two cars in front are going to drive away.
Okay. Well, again, you heard another
take.
controversial
It's my
hot
hot
take
take.
here with Oliver Askew, but that's perfect. That's why we're on the Road to Indy TV Live. So let's go down and check out what Rob Howden is doing on pit lane, introducing you to Indy Lights Race 1.
For the first time in 17 months, we're going to go racing again with Indy Lights. Folks, it's time to get things underway. 13 drivers to start the season. Everybody starting with 0 points. It's a fresh start, blank slate for everyone. Now they get set to see what they can do in the opening round of the doubleheader here at Barber Motorsports Park. Once again, Jacob Odom joining me here on pit lane, as I said, the senior project manager for Doster Construction, just waiting for the call from race control to fire things up. All right, folks, get set to go. We'll pass over the mic.
On behalf of everyone at Doster Construction, drivers, start your engines.
And ladies and gentlemen, with that, engines firing down here on pit lane, it's time to go racing with Indy Lights.
It's a sound
we have waited 19 months to hear the engines firing for these Indy Lights machines as we are set to kick off the 2021 Indy Lights Championship. Of course, the champion 2 years ago, Oliver Askew. This year, a fresh set of drivers to compete for this title and battle for a championship and a scholarship that can earn them a chance to race in the NTT INDYCAR Series. Of course, this round number one for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. This championship is a 20-round championship where it crisscrosses the United States. They start here in Birmingham, Alabama, then it's off to St. Petersburg, Florida, a stop in Indianapolis. They go to Detroit, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Mid-Ohio, Toronto, Madison, Illinois, Portland, Oregon, and then ultimately ending the season in Monterey, California to crown a champion. Drivers, all 13 of them, those cars are fired. They're leaving pit lane now. Just one parade lap around this 17-turn road course before we go racing. Let's welcome in our pit reporters down on pit lane on site at Barber Motorsports Park. We'll start with Ryan Marine. Ryan, a storyline, a driver you might be watching as we kick off this brand new season.
Well, I've got my eye on one of the returning veterans, Robert McGinnis, who starts 8th for this race here today. He qualified 3rd for tomorrow's race number 2, so he's got pace in that car. I chatted with him before he jumped into the car just a few moments ago, and he said, look, I was P3 when I came in to get some new tires to go out and try and improve my time, caught some traffic at a bad time, and my lap just wasn't there. But he said, I'm not panicking. I got some work to do today, but I think we can get it done and bring the challenge to the new front-running team, at least here to start the season, HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group.
Good to have the Road to Indy Insider back with us once again for another season of Indy Lights competition. Good afternoon for the first time on IndyCar Radio, Rob Howden.
Yeah, Nick, it seems like forever. Great to be back with the guys here at the IndyCar Radio. And here's one of the things I'm looking at here for this particular weekend. It's a very interesting start to the season. Normally, we launch kickoff at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. It's an open slate for everyone because no one's been able to test there. There's been a ton of testing here at Barber Motorsports Park. Some drivers as many as 7 or 8 days of testing here. HMD Motorsports and Global Racing Group tested here a lot. It's showing in qualifying. Linus Lundqvist, David Malukas on the front row. When we get to St. Petersburg next weekend, going to be a more of, I think, an even playing field. But right now, these guys who have tested here could be quick. Look for Lundqvist to get that first victory out of the gate.
Awful impressive group of drivers set to contest this Indy Lights Championship. It is Linus Lundqvist on the pole alongside David Malukas, Kyle Kirkwood, and Benjamin Pedersen in row number 2, Toby Sowery, Devlin DeFrancesco in row number 3, and Davey Hamilton. The nerves for some of these drivers. I mean, the scholarship prizes are awful big. Their futures on the line. Start of a brand new season. I imagine there's got to be some butterflies in the stomach for some of these drivers.
Yeah, without a doubt, Nick. And one thing as well is this is the stepping stone into the IndyCar Series. That's where all these kids want to be. And they know they have to succeed here before they have the opportunity to step up and get in the NTT INDYCAR Series. So so not just being the first race, not just being the first time potentially on this racetrack and the first race of the season, but then the big picture of it is, yes, they want to have success in this series to try to move up.
Rob Howden, how about some conditions on this Saturday in Alabama?
Well, I'll tell you, Nick, coming in here, the forecast was for 60% chance of rain here on Saturday. We have had none of that, which is fantastic. Cloud cover, 66 degrees Fahrenheit here ambient. We are seeing some blue sky start to come in and coming from the direction of the wind, so there's a possibility it could warm up here quite a bit throughout this race, and we'll see how that plays out for drivers and teams who, of course, set the tire pressures based on what they expect for temperature.
That's a nice sign, Mark, because historically, it seems like every year we go to Barber Motorsports Park, we've got an eye on the racetrack, but also on the skies, as Mother Nature hasn't always been the most kind down there in the south.
Yeah, at least one of the days over the course of the weekend, and sometimes we've gotten significant rainfall there. But, boy, what a beautiful sight to see, even with some of the cloud cover. Always spectacular sights at Barber Motorsports Park. And want to welcome back great race fans that have helped build this into one of the marquee venues on the NTT and Indy Lights Series schedule. Happy to see all of them back. We know they're excited to be at the racetrack. And these drivers, they sure do love to ply their trade, Nick Yeoman, when they have their fans in the stands to cheer them on. So good on them.
Tail end of the field, just getting past the fans on the backstretch that have really lined up underneath the trees. And now they'll start to stack up in those familiar rows of 2. It is Linus Lundqvist who is on the pole. He's nosed ahead of David Malukas. Those two are satellite teammates. Malukas pulls even as the field of 13 comes out of the final corner after a 19-month wait. The Indy Lights season is back. Green flag is in the air, and we are racing with the Indy Lights Series. It's Linus Lundqvist in that orange and black car pulling to the lead in turn number 1.
Oh, a big contact. It was Kyle Kirkwood making contact with David Malukas in turn number 1. Malukas hard into the wall. They stayed green, but Malukas already out of this race. Lundqvist with the lead.
And Lundqvist now is really starting to pull away. As a matter of fact, Toby Sowry is going to try to make a move to the outside for the second position. Not able to do it. Linus Lundqvist now, as a full course caution comes out, is the leader by 5 car lengths.
It is Lundqvist, and it was Benjamin Pedersen, his teammate, in that matching orange and black machine that jumped to the second position, but it is a full course yellow. Everything going wrong in turn number 1 as David Malukas' day is done. The AMR IndyCar safety team is there. They're going to have David pop out of that car as he nosed it pretty hard into the tire barriers. Davey Hamilton, you saw it all go down, and you're seeing a replay now. Walk us through what happened between Kirkwood, who looked like he was trying to grab that second position on the first corner.
Yeah, Kirkwood just poked his nose in maybe where it didn't belong. He really just clipped his nose wing into the left rear, Malukas, and just sent him flying. Just a rookie mistake, really, to be honest with you, on a first lap. But it's long race, long ways to go. You can't win it on the first lap, and small mistake. Nose damage to his car as well, but man, Malukas is out for the day.
Mark, glad to see Malukas get out of that car because, as you know, they're going so fast down that front straightaway, and it's downhill. It's a pretty good lick there into the foam barriers at the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, that runoff area helped him scrub off a little bit of speed, but it was noticeable impact for sure. And, yeah, I mean, Kirkwood really, I think the move driven a little bit out of the desire to make a pass early on because it is so very, very tough to pass here. But as Davey pointed out, Kyle Kirkwood certainly did not come through that incident unscathed. A lot of front-end damage to that race car as he limps it back to pit road.
Yeah, David Malukas' day is done. What about Kyle Kirkwood as he limps to pit lane? And Rob Howden, he will come into your view with that damaged number 28 machine.
Indeed, Nick. This is not something you've seen over the years of Kyle Kirkwood. Remember, the champion of USF2000 in 2018, champion of Indy Pro in 2019. He was able to keep his nose clean. The team immediately went to work upon seeing it on the cameras here as well, on the TVs. They're actually going to have a wing front change as well, as there was damage, as you guys said, but they're also looking like they're going to have to change the right front tire as well. We may have some damage there indeed. Yeah, that tire is flat. He flat spotted it with some damage on the wheel as well. The team going heavy to work to try to get Kirkwood back onto the racetrack. Not the start that you wanted to see from the 2019 Indy Pro 2000 champion.
Davey Hamilton, how deceptively narrow is turn number 1? I mean, is it possible to go side by side in these lights cars?
Yeah, you actually can go through there side by side. It is a challenge, but you can do it in the Indy cars as well. It's just super fast. It's a really fast left-hand corner. But on the start like that, you know they don't have full head of steam. You know, they came from not a standing start, but a rolling start, and so they were probably only up to half speed what they normally go through there. Probably felt a little confidence, Kirkwood did, that the car would stick down low, but just not enough room. And by the way, it wasn't a big hit between the two cars. It was a small hit with a nose wing barely into that left rear of the other car and sent them both flying. So it tells you you can't touch each other.
Looks like the AMR IndyCar safety team, the biggest challenge now is getting David Malukas' battered machine out of the gravel trap in the runoff area of turn number 1. So will remain under a full course caution. Lap 1, turn 1 puts us under the yellow flag. Another good opportunity to go back to pit lane and check in with Rob Howden.
You know, Nick, just a quick little note here. You talk about the experience of these drivers. Remember back in 2020, we had that one practice session at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. After that, when Indy Lights went on hiatus, a number of drivers kind of scattered to different programs. We saw guys like Daniel Frost, Devlin DeFrancesco, who were planning on running Indy Lights, come back and run Indy Pro 2000.
2000 for another year. David Malukas was in another program, as was Linus Lundqvist, as was Benjamin Pedersen. Kyle Kirkwood did not run a Formula car last year. That was his first Formula car start since back in 2019 when he won the Indy Pro 2000 race. He actually ran some prototype racing in IMSA, obviously did the GT program as well in the Lexus with Vassar Sullivan, so that really was his first start in an open wheel car since Laguna Seca back in September of 2019. Little catch out there for Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, it's a great point because, Mark, while these lights drivers and these teams, they've all done some testing over the offseason, it's still a whole other thing to ask these drivers once the bullets start flying to go 2x2 and barrel into turn number 1.
Yeah, and again, we don't want to belabor a point, but this thing is so tight in goes up so quickly, and maybe if we're 4 or 5 races into the season, maybe that move doesn't take place, or they give each other a little more room. But I think early season jitters probably contributed to that a bit too.
Cleanup continues down in turn number 1. Let's go back to pit lane and Ryan Marine.
And Nick, thought we'd take the chance to chat with Dan Anderson, who oversees the entire road to Indy, and for the first time in 19 months, that now includes once again the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. I know there was a lot of work put in last year. It was a difficult decision to take the year off, but you look at the grid, 13 cars took the green flag a moment ago, Dan. You have to be awfully proud of the way that this series bounced back.
Yeah, we're really happy to be back on the grid, back on the racetrack. A little over-anxious there on that start. You got to give the guys a chance. These are great drivers, and they just really wanted to get to the front, and sorry that incident happened, but it's going to be some great racing this year. We've got a lot of strong talent. Probably any of 10 guys could win this race today.
How important is the Indy Lights Series as the capstone on the Road to Indy program?
Well, it's what we're all about. Indy Lights is the top of the tier. It's the last step before drivers move up to Indy cars. I think we've proven that the Indy Lights Series is doing the job training drivers. The recent graduates have all done well in IndyCar, and it's been fun to see that. But it starts as young as 14 years old with USF2000. We train them all the way up the ladder, and Indy Lights is the finishing program.
13 cars on the grid to start this race, a bunch of new teams, some new faces into the series, some optimism certainly surrounding the future of the series as well. How would you sum up the health of this series in 2021?
Well, we're really glad that we jumped up from the numbers we had 2 years ago. That was a bit sad, I think, to be under double digits, and now we're at 13. We hope to grow it more. The rest of the ladder is very healthy. We have 26 cars on the first step, 17 on the second step, and those drivers will all move up into Indy Lights. So the future is good. We've got the new updated safety kits on the cars. The cars look beautiful. I'm very happy today.
Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much.
And to Dan's point, these Indy Lights chassis are now affixed with that Halo safety device for the first time ever. Just another step forward for the Road to Indy program.
Yep, no doubt about it. The chase to make these cars as safe as possible, it never ends. So good to see that new Halo device as we are set to go racing once again. First 4 laps run under caution. Here's how they will restart. It is Linus Lundqvist, the pole sitter. He has the top spot. His teammate Benjamin Pedersen, who started 4th, was able to avoid the carnage in that matching orange and black machine. He'll line up 2nd. Toby Sowery in the familiar green and white Juncos colors will start in 3rd. Devlin DeFrancesco in a car that I'm pretty sure you can see from space. The bright yellow machine will line up in 4th. And Alex Peroni for Carlin Racing will restart 5th with David Malukas right behind him. Kyle Kirkwood jumps to the tail end of the field after repairing the nose of that car. Out of turn 17, they roar. We are back to racing once again at Barber Motorsports Park. It's a good jump for Linus Lundqvist. Call it 4 or 5 car lengths over his teammate into turn 1.
Yeah, Lundqvist about 8 car lengths. Now the battle for that second position as Pedersen's got all kinds of mirrors full of Toby Sowery. They climb the hill, and Sowery trying to get that second position.
Sowery is going to try to look to the inside, but not able to make the move on Pedersen just yet. Again, Lundqvist with a comfortable advantage through turn number 6. He had gotten a really good jump on that restart, and he's able to hold on to it here as he moves his way now into turn number 7.
Yeah, Sowery took
trying to get used to
got back in line as they head towards that downhill portion It is the 26 machine of Benjamin Pedersen, the 24 machine of Pedersen trying to hold off Toby Sowery, who is all over the rear wing as they snake their way down that backstretch, looking for a way around. And Mark Janes, I'll tell you what, good battle for this second position.
Pedersen wobbled just a little bit after he cleared the shadows of the museum, and we thought that would open the door for Toby Sowery. Got our eye on sixth place running McGinnis as well. Gotta wonder if maybe his level of experience, I know they all haven't been in a car other than test sessions for a while, but certainly his experience here at Barber, I think, would help him maybe pick up a couple of positions.
We keep an eye on that battle for second across the start-finish line. Pedersen holding off Sowery.
Yeah, Lundqvist is pretty much checked out. Now the battle DeFrancesco starting to close in on the rear wing of Toby Sowery. So first place, but Jake, you got all kinds of second, third, and fourth battles.
Yeah, Sowery finds himself kind of a sandwich right now. Pedersen just in front of him, running in the second position. Sowery starts to close in on turn number 6, not able to make the move. But again, things starting to bunch up just a little bit. Pedersen comfortably in second, but Toby Sowery with a freight train just behind him.
I'll tell you what, Davey Hamilton, after kind of an inauspicious start, things shaking out, looking a little bit cleaner, and a really great battle as you can throw a blanket over about 4 or 5 cars there.
Yeah, we see the leader, Lundqvist, definitely checked out at this point, but as you just said, Nick, the rest of the field is pretty much nose to tail. Hard to pass. They're up to speed right now. The biggest thing, you got to remember, they do not make pit stops, so you need to take care of the tires. As the fuel load goes down, the car gets lighter, usually faster, as long as you take care of those tires and wait for the end of the race. So right now, if you could be in cruise mode, hold your position, and have fresh tires and a lighter load of fuel towards the end of this is going to be an advantage.
Lundqvist has led every lap so far. His advantage stays stable at about 1.8 seconds over his teammate Benjamin Pedersen. Pedersen a good 2 or 3 car lengths over Toby Sowery, who runs in that second spot. He is given quite a challenge back up the hill. Devlin DeFrancesco runs in the 4th spot. Alex Peroni is 5th. Robert McGinnis runs in that 6th position. All these cars, though, separated by just a car length or 2. Daniel Frost runs in the 7th position. Then it's Sting Ray Robb in 8th. Christian Bogle is 9th. Kyle Kirkwood already starting to pick his way through the field as he restarted 12th. He's up to the 10th position. Nikita Lastishkin has fallen to the 11th spot, and then it's Antonio Saravalli in the 12th spot. But no doubt about it, Mark Janes, Linus Lundqvist, like what I've seen from that leader so far, checking out on this field.
Modern-day a Renaissance man, if you will. His bucket list, travel to all continents. He loves egg-fried rice with chicken. He's climbed the tallest active volcano in Africa, and he says the person he would most like an audience with to be able to sit and just talk to for an extended period of time is comedian Dave Chappelle.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that
there's a lot of things to like about him. He's got some very eclectic, very interesting taste for sure. But more than anything else, he's a bad, fast, young race car driver for sure.
Field making their way to the Alabama roller coaster. Jake Query, let's take a peek on that battle for second as Pedersen just can't seem to get away from Toby Sowery.
And Toby Sowery started in the 5th position, worked his way into 3rd, and in the spot where he is right now on the opening lap was trying to work his way in on Pedersen for that 2nd spot. Now he has a problem as he gets just a little bit loose on the outside. DeFrancesco takes him. So Toby Sowery, just as we're talking about the fact that he's trying to make a move and get back into that 2nd spot, instead he gives up 3rd.
Yeah, and he has his hands full as he lost the spot to Devlin DeFrancesco, and now it is Alex Peroni, the Carlin driver, and that familiar Carlin navy blue that is challenging that Juncos machine as Sowery got out of shape somehow out of turn number 5. That car walked its way across the racetrack, kicked up some dust. Davey Hamilton, you're seeing the replay. We only got to see the tail end of it, but that's kind of an odd spot for a guy to get wide.
Yeah, you know, it looked like just a big understeer coming off that area and trying to get on the accelerator too quickly out of that corner can shove that front end. And I think what happened after that, Nick, back to the marbles. I think they're already forming a little bit. Got some debris on his tires, and he went down into 7 and 8. Car got a bit loose. Not saying the car's loose in general, but with the tires having that little bit of dirt and grime on them, just couldn't get that grip he needed.
Yeah, the good news for Sowery is it looks like in this lap, lap number 8. He's kind of regathered it, but the big winner there was definitely Devlin DeFrancesco. Double D's moved up into the 3rd position, and now he will give chase to Benjamin Pedersen, who runs in the 2nd spot. Sowery, after regaining control of that car, has put a little bit of breathing room between him and Alex Peroni, who runs in that 5th position here in Indy Lights. Working lap number 8 of the first round of this 20-round championship for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. We kick off the season in beautiful Barber Motorsports Park. Linus Lundqvist has led every lap so far, had an early yellow flag for an incident involving Kyle Kirkwood and David Malukas. Malukas out of the race after a heavy contact into the tire barrier in turn number 1. Leaders making their way down the front straightaway. Michael, let's take a look at that battle. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on back. Everyone giving chase to Lundqvist.
Yeah, indeed, and it's kind of broken off. There's really not a good battle on the course, maybe the exception of the Robert McGinnis-Daniel Frost teammate battle, but Jake Query, they have seen Lundqvist basically check out from the rest of the field.
Yeah, Lundqvist and his teammate Pedersen, as we talked about, those matching orange cars with black accentuation. And then, to Nick's point, it's as though DeFrancesco just said, we need more color in the podium right now. That bright highlighter yellow and orange machine works its way into 3rd. Sowery settling down just a little bit, running 4th. Then you wait just a second before Peroni rounds out the top 5.
We're watching Mark an onboard shot of Kyle Kirkwood, who had an incident early on. He's given chase all over the rear wing of Christian Bogle, a couple of American drivers. Bogle from Louisiana, Kirkwood from Florida, and Kirkwood wearing the back of that car out as they make their way down the backstretch.
Yeah, battle for the 9th position, and huge for Kyle Kirkwood at this point to just kind of minimize the damage. There's still a long season in front of him, Nick, but let's face it, that incident, turn 1, lap 1, really puts you behind the 8 ball to start the season.
So the leader, Linus Lundqvist, comes back across the line to start lap number 10. His advantage that was 1.8 seconds has grown to 2.5, a comfortable lead over Benjamin Pedersen. And then it is Devlin DeFrancesco, a trio of rookies running 1, 2, 3, all looking to go to victory lane. And Rob Houghton, you're standing by with a guy who has already been there today.
Indeed, a lot of racing in the road to Indy this weekend, Nick. And of course, Braden Eves won the championship at USF2000 back in 2019. But a big wreck last year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway after a win at Mid-Ohio. Stopped your season, Braden. You weren't able to run. You were in the recovery for a couple of months. You got back in a kart and then off-season testing. And there's no better way to start coming back from an incident like that than the win here today. Tell me how good it was to get that victory to start the season.
Oh, words can't even describe. You know, it's so good to come back on a high note, especially beginning the season. It's massive for my confidence and momentum going into St. Pete and the rest of the season. So you definitely have to start strong for a championship bid, and we did just that. So tomorrow it's going to be tough starting from P4, but I think we can move forward.
Obviously a big win for you guys with Exclusive Autosport. 1-2. You and your teammate Artem Petrov started 1st and 2nd. You end up finishing 1st and 2nd. Overall, how good was the race car today?
Oh my God, it was absolutely incredible. You know, one of the best race cars I've driven. Especially in qualifying. Just incredible. So it gave me everything that I needed to go for pole, and pole is almost everything around here. It's so tough to pass. So when we got the pole, we were feeling real good going into the race, and we managed to finish it off.
Hey, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Braden Eves, Nick from Exclusive Autosport, impressive driver at New Albany, Ohio. Very close connections with Michael Shank and Michael Shank Racing and Meyer Shank, and again another driver out of that Ohio area, just as Michael Shank, just as his grandma Bobby Rahal. But this is a young American to watch. Braden Eves from Exclusive Autosport.
Yeah, and it's just a fabulous story, too. His comeback from that accident in Indianapolis, to see him back behind a wheel of a car, and not just competitive, but winning. That is the type of storyline you can root for. Working lap number 11 here in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. It is Linus Lundqvist making the bend to the right, back to the left through turns 16 and 17. As I'll tell you what, Michael Young, it has been awful impressive as he has continued to check out heading into turn number 1.
Yes, indeed. He always twitches, though, as he gets to the exit of turn number 1, that little runoff area. Then it's the machine of Pedersen, then DeFrancesco. Not a lot of good battles. As we look further back in the field, I guess we do have one there. That's Kyle Kirkwood trying to get around the Noble machine. But Jake Query, that's only I guess the closest battle we have on the circuit right now. Is coming to you.
Yeah, Christian Bogle is holding on for dear life right now, and he's trying to hold off Kirkwood. As a matter of fact, Kirkwood just went ahead and got around him, trying to make up a spot that he had lost with that bobble at the outset of the race. Again, the leader by a wide margin is Lundqvist. Then it's Pedersen, DeFrancesco. Sowery got loose on that incident we talked about where he gave up the third position. I thought, Nick Yeoman, it almost looked like something might have gone wrong with his car because he dropped off the pace so quickly, but it was only one spot that he lost. He was able to hold on to that fourth spot. Peroni has not been able to get him, who runs in fifth.
Yeah, clearly whatever those issues were for Sowery, it was a minor mistake that he was able to correct and push to the side very quickly. And, Davey, I know we've been watching Kyle Kirkwood, who made the mistake to start the race. It's got to be in such a frustrating and difficult spot because we know he's got a fast race car, but, boy, he just cannot find a way around Christian Bogle and that Carlin machine.
It just cannot find it. Matter of fact, they're losing ground to Sting Ray Robb, who runs in that 8th position, but Kirkwood definitely is quicker. Lap times show that, but man, he's not fast in the passing zones. He catches up in the slow areas where you just can't get by him, and then when it has the opportunity to go down these straightaways and outbrake him, he just doesn't have quite enough to get there. But he continues to work him hard. He continues to try to force him into a mistake. We'll just have to see if he can make that happen.
And, Mark, we're watching them through turn number 5. That's got to be the best spot. If you're going to get it done, I would think that'd be the spot you'd want to do it.
Yeah, as we saw, things narrow up in a hurry if you get a good run down the straightaway into turn number 1, and then that's so unforgiving, that sweeping area. You might be able to get a piece of them off of that long back straightaway, but then maybe we just saw another opportunity right in front of that museum. He's going to force the issue, that's for sure. He's doing all he can, Kyle Kirkwood, to pick up another spot.
You said get a piece of him, and he very nearly did.
That would have been the second piece he's got to somebody today.
Almost got the whole rear end of that number 7 Carlin machine for Christian Bogle as it got awful tight down there at the bottom of the hill in front of the museum. Kirkwood locked him up and very nearly looked like he was going to take out a second driver for the day. He'll have to regather it about 2 to 3 car lengths back of Christian Bogle as they roar across the start-finish line. On the stopwatch, that equates to 0.3 of a second. So it is awful tight as those two drivers continue to battle through the Alabama roller coaster. Bogle swings a little wide, and Jake Query will see if Kirkwood can maybe set him up heading down to turn 5.
They work their way through turn number 5 and then set up now for turn number 6. But again, Bogle has just that slight advantage. Boy, they nearly went side by side exiting turn number 6. Now they're going to work again nearly side by side. Kirkwood going to set him up from the inside. Now goes to the outside. They're side by side under the bridge.
They are side by side in a part of the racetrack that gets awful narrow. They went wheel to wheel through that part of the racetrack, had to get single file. And Davey, it looks like Christian Bogle, at least for now, is going to hold on to that 9th position.
Man, that was a tough spot. They were actually in the same predicament that Kirkwood found himself in turn 1 on the opening lap. Almost got that nose wing against the rear tire of Bogle, just barely missing him. And as you said earlier, they actually looks like he almost touched him. So that seems to be the place that Kirkwood's faster, but can he get it done?
And, Mark, we just saw a replay from the previous lap. I thought maybe it was Bogle or Kirkwood that made the mistake. We now see Kirkwood has gotten around Bogle, but it looked like it was Bogle locking him up at the bottom of the hill.
Yes, he did. He locked him up at the bottom of the hill, and that increases the expediency of that closing gap. It narrows up on you in a hurry for sure. Had great racing between those two talented young drivers.
Again, it's Linus Lundqvist as we reach the halfway point of this first race of the season. He's led all 15 laps. Lead is staying actually kind of stable at this point at 2.6 seconds over his teammate Benjamin Pedersen. Devlin DeFrancesco has not really been able to make much ground. He sits in third at 5 seconds back. Then it's Toby Sowery and Alex Peroni. And Mark, just got a replay of how Kyle Kirkwood did finally pull off that pass for 9.
Yeah, got it off that last turn around that 15, 16, 17 area before they got back into the straightaway. Car got a little loose and opened the door. And, boy, I tell you what, you got to give a lot of credit to Kirkwood. I mean, he short-term memory in terms of the mistake that cost him a lot of positions. And he battled for a couple of laps there. Nick, you just got to hope that with 16 laps to go, they didn't wear those Cooper tires out, although they are ultra durable. But he's going to get himself back into the top 10, which is good news for Kyle Kirkwood.
Kirkwood, of course, started third. He's at the back of the pack because of an opening lap incident, and the guy who got the worst of it is standing by with Rob Howden down on pit lane here at Barber Motorsports Park.
Yeah, Nick, I've got David Malukas here from HMD Motorsports. David, not the start you guys wanted. You've shown so much speed over testing. You were so good at spring training as well, and you're going to start pole tomorrow, which is a positive. Tell me how you feel right now, having gone out in the opening corner.
I'm starting to calm down a little bit now. I was quite angry. You know, being in Indy Lights, I wasn't expecting any more rookie mistakes, but then again, it is the start of the season. Luckily, I'm looking on track, and our teammates are still, you know, P1, P2, and that's all that really matters. I mean, even tomorrow is looking really sharp. We have the speed. It's a bit annoying, but quite a bit of damage as well, but I have a good team behind me. I know they'll get it fixed right away.
Let's talk about that team a little bit. Last year, over a year ago, you were the fastest at St. Petersburg, the one session. In the interview that you and I did, you were so happy with just the way the team had formed. There was just this really level of comfort and speed. You guys connect with Global Racing Group for this year here as well. Off-season testing's been great. What's the atmosphere like? You guys just seem like you guys are focused on winning races and championships.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken quite a bit of years. We started with no information at all and slowly built up. And now we have a team that has, I think, the best connection I've ever seen. Even if we are last, and even days like this, where it's like, you know, the worst of the worst, I'm still really happy. I'm just, you know, happy to be with all these people. I mean, this is the best people that I've ever been with.
How much different are you this year than you were last year at this time? You raced a Formula car all last year. How much different is David Malukas?
I mean, I'm 19 years old. I'm still in my teen years, and 1 year, it's big for me on maturity-wise. So, I mean, I already feel a lot better, a lot different, and yeah, I mean, at least this time it wasn't me making the mistake, so it's just unfortunate.
Obviously, a mental game is big here. Let's cap off with this. You put this behind you. Tomorrow you start on the pole position. I think a win would probably make you forget a bit about Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know we have the pace. We're starting P1, got nothing in front. Hopefully I can make it through turn 1 tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, we have the pace. I'm not nervous. You know, I'm going to put this behind me. It's whatever. Everything happens for a reason.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
David Malukas, guys, HMD Motorsports, a team to watch this year, a driver to watch this year, a young American who's going to be on the top of the podium a couple of times or more here in 2021.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. He is going to be in the championship hunt and in the hunt for race wins. May do it as early as tomorrow, but good to see him shaking it off and able to refocus after an opening lap accident. We are working lap number 18, just 12 to go here at Barber Motorsports Park. Linus Lundqvist, his lead continues to stay stable at 2.7 seconds over his teammate Benjamin Pedersen. Michael Young, I know you're out there at the Alabama roller coaster. Did you find one of our former Lights champions out there with you?
Indeed, I did. The 2019 Indy Lights champion, and I always love spending time with this young man, one of my favorite guys to have come through this Road to Indy program, just not in a position I like to do an interview in, as you do not currently drive in the NTT INDYCAR Series. Oliver, you had such a tough hit at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Obviously, the situation with Aaron McLaren SP and not coming back in the 7 car for the 2021 campaign. I know the fans want to know, where do you stand right now, and what are your opportunities potentially for the Indianapolis 500 and on?
Yeah, definitely bummed to be watching practice 1 here and from the outside, not being in the car. So happy for our friends at Andretti Autosport to invite me out this weekend just to be here. Hopefully we can put something together for the future.
It's good to see at least an Andretti Autosport sweatshirt on you here. So potential with getting into the Indianapolis 500. There's talk of a 6 Andretti Autosport car, potentially a potential for you getting into.
Yeah, the Indy 500 is out of the question at the moment. Looking more to use this as a rebuilding year and look more towards next year.
Let's look back at your career, and this Road to Indy treated you so well. You dominated so much of this Road to Indy, finished 3rd in the Indy Pro 2001, the USF2000 Indy Lights champion. How did this program help you develop as a driver, making your way into the NTT INDYCAR Series?
It was everything for me. You know, the scholarship system is fantastic, and I'm sure many other drivers can say the same. Cool to see a lot of drivers in Indy Lights this weekend making their first starts in the series, and yeah, definitely rooting our friends at rooting for our friends at Andretti Autosport.
Well, it's great to see you back at the track, and obviously we wish the best for you. Obviously, one of my favorite people here at the circuit to see, and we wish you all the best in the future. Hopefully, we'll get something done for you the latter part of 2021.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
That's all of our ask you guys. Again, Nick, it's so hard to see this young man not in a car. He's such a talented individual and such a great guy as well, and hopefully good things for him down the road.
Mark, most importantly, we're just glad that he was okay after that accident in Indianapolis. That scared, I think, a lot of us, and obviously Oliver's been very open with dealing with the concussion issues, and it certainly has taken his career in a different direction that I don't think anyone has really wanted to see.
Unfortunate set of circumstances, and I think it caused the whole situation to be evaluated and then reevaluated in terms of how the situations are handled moving forward. But a likable young man and obviously an incredible talent. And I just have a sneaking suspicion, especially if he's walking around Barber Motorsports Park sporting that Andretti Autosport gear. My gut feeling tells me, and it should tell you and most people too, that we've not seen the last of him in the NTT INDYCAR Series. And I know, at least early on in his career, he impressed me because, I mean, he's bought all in because it was nothing to see him having breakfast at Charlie Brown's on Main Street in Speedway, Indiana. So that tells you he's a real racer for sure.
We're watching a battle between a pair of Andretti Autosport drivers. Michael, it's for 6th. Robert McGinnis and Daniel Frost in turn 1.
Yeah, it's been a good battle, and slowly Daniel Frost climbing on the rear wing of his teammate, Robert McGinnis. They climb up the Alabama roller coaster, make their way down the front straightaway. 6 car lengths separate the two.
McGinnis starts to work his way towards the bottom of the racetrack, and as he enters turn number 6, Frost gets a really good look at that rear wing, but it's in the exit of turn number 6 where McGinnis gets into the throttle a little bit quicker. He now extends himself about a 2-car length advantage.
And Davey Hamilton, that's not the only good battle right behind those two drivers. We're watching Kyle Kirkwood continue to try to charge his way back up to where he started as he's given that driver from Idaho quite a run down the backstretch. Sting Ray Robb trying to hold on to that spot.
How about that? He gained so much time. Once he got by Bogle, he picked up almost a second a lap, guys. Almost a second lap. It's pretty amazing to gain that much speed. And, man, he's been holding it, and he ran Robb down. Now we'll see if he has anything for Sting Ray. But right now, pretty impressive the way he's coming through the field.
Davey, those Idaho guys, they make those elbows a little wider, don't they, when somebody's trying to pass? Aren't they notorious for that?
We're always taught you just got to do what you got to do, right? So to do whatever you can to stay ahead, especially at the end of this race. Now, obviously, it's not the last lap, and we have a ways to go here, but Stingray's doing all he can to keep that car back. And Stingray's had a great journey to get into the Indy Lights Series. I know he's very happy to be in it now, and with a great team with Juncos, and now he's just learning a lot. He hopes to get to the NTT INDYCAR Series very soon, and we'll see how he accomplishes that.
Well, he's going to have to learn on the fly because flat out Kyle Kirkwood is giving him the business as they head down towards the museum. This is really, we call it two-car battles, but honestly, Mark, you can call it 1 4-car battle. It's 6th through 9th. Robert McGinnis, Daniel Frost, Sting Ray Robb, and Kyle Kirkwood as they snake their way down the backstretch. Really just 2 car lengths separating all of them.
Yeah, and I'm telling you what, that's an awfully fast portion of the racetrack. I mean, they're flat out through there, and they can stay flat out through that first turn that they approach. And then that final series of turns, 14, 15, 16, and 17, that's when things really start to tighten up. And now, Nick, that we're later in the run, as they climb back into the throttle off of those turns, we're starting to see tire wear come into play because the back end of that car starts to wiggle a little bit when they get back into the throttle.
Yeah, that battle continues to be a good one. It's Lundqvist, Pedersen, DeFrancesco, Sowry, and Peroni, the top 5. But Jake Query, as those foursome 6th through 9th barrel towards turn number 5, it continues to heat up at Barber Motorsports Park.
And I've got to go along with your phrase here in the fact that because I watched Leave It to Beaver, Robert McGinnis is getting the business, if you will, if you mentioned from Frost. Again, they are evenly spaced right now, those 4 cars that you talked about, talking about McGinnis, Frost, Robb, and Kirkwood as they work their way now into turn number 8.
And I'll tell you what, Davey, I think that Sting Ray Robb is catching Daniel Frost. Frost struggling to get around McGinnis, and it's kind of sucked those 2 cars at the end of that train right up into the battle.
No, right now it's those 4 cars battling it out, and I've seen Sting Ray Robb. The back of this car stepped out just a moment ago, so the back he's definitely dealing with, tires that are slowly wearing out, and you know what? That's a great thing about the make of these tires is they need to do that. If you had a tire that stayed good the entire race, it kind of takes the driver ability and skills out of it. So it's always good when they have the tires wear out. The Cooper's done a great job with that. And now these guys are, I mean, you can throw a blanket over those 4 guys right there. One other thing I want to say about Askew, you guys were talking about him. Oliver was in a very difficult position for those that don't know. When you have the opportunity to go to IndyCar racing, that's the pinnacle. That's where he wanted to be. Had a huge accident, not of his fault whatsoever, but when he got the concussion, it's a tough call, guys, as a rookie, being in the IndyCar Series. Do you tell him that you have a concussion and potentially get set out of the car, or do you try to race with that concussion but knowing that your performance is probably down, and it's like a no-win situation for that kid. So I really hope he does get the opportunity to come back, and so we can all see what he really has for talent.
Heard the stories for years, Nick Yeoman, and we'll continue to hear the stories about players in other sports and participants in other sports that once they're past their playing days, they will tell you about the opportunities when they were probably more injured than they let on. And the last person they wanted to go see was the team doctor because they didn't want to give up their spot.
Yeah, there's no doubt that we just we look at all that stuff, especially involving head injuries, a little bit differently than maybe we did 20 or 30 years ago, but it puts that driver in a really, really tough spot. Just 5 to go here at Barber Motorsports Park. You're listening to the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Michael, that battle for 6th continues to be a good one. Daniel Frost looked like he locked him up a bit.
Indeed, and Robert McGinnis now checks out from his teammate Daniel Frost. 3 car lengths at battle now. Sting Ray Robb on the rear wing of Frost.
Sting Ray Robb is taking a hard look at Frost. Boy, they are really bunched up through turn number 6. And again, nobody's able to make the move exactly. But, Nick, they really accordioned up as they worked their way through turn number 6 and now into 7.
That might open up an opportunity for Kyle Kirkwood to get alongside Sting Ray Robb. Not going to be able to do it there in the turn 7 and 8 portion of the racetrack as they bounce their way down the hill. These drivers slugging it out for the 6th position with just 5 laps to go here in the opening round of this Indy Lights Championship for 2021. Up front, it is Linus Lundqvist, the driver from Sweden. Across the start-finish line, he'll see 4 to go. He's led every single lap so far, and really an impressive Indy Lights candidate, a championship candidate, no doubt about it. A year ago, absolutely flat dominated the 2020 Formula Regional American Championship, winning, Mark, you're not going to believe this, 15 of the 17 races in that championship, a championship that included David Malukas, some good talent in there, and clearly we haven't talked a lot about Lundqvist because he's really pulled away and dominated this race, but he has not put a wheel wrong all day long.
A racing idol that only makes sense is Kenny Breck, and a guy obviously with a lot of success in open wheel racing, and he's off to an impressive debut thus far here at Barber Motorsports Park.
It is Lundqvist, his teammate Benjamin Pedersen, who runs 2nd. Devlin DeFrancesco made a pass of Toby Sowery about 10 laps ago. Right now, it's looking like that pass may put him on the podium in his Indy Lights debut. Sowery got kicked back to the 4th spot. He sits pretty comfortably there, about 4 seconds ahead of Alex Peroni, who sits in the 5th spot. And then this battle for 6th that we have been watching and talking about a great deal because it has been a good one. Mark, there's no doubt about it. Sting Ray Robb and Kyle Kirkwood, the tail of that train, trying somehow to get around either Daniel Frost or Robert McGinnis.
I'm sure Kirkwood is thinking risk versus reward based upon what happened on the opening lap. If the opportunity presents itself, he'll take it. I think the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th car in that 4-car battle seemed to be a little tighter. Of the 4, I think McGinnis is the most comfortable, and as we say that, Robert really starts to stretch it out now as they exit turn 1.
Yeah, Kirkwood's car looked like it wobbled just a little bit at the entrance of turn 1. They make their way through the Alabama roller coaster. Always nice to see the varying lines, and it looks like, tell you what, Jake, Sting Ray Robb has a run on Daniel Frost. Can he get alongside him down in turn number 5?
Well, it caused Frost to all of a sudden lock him up, and Sting Ray Robb going to try to make that move, not able to do it just yet. Kirkwood got a really good view of that. Nick looked for certain like it was going to happen in turn number 6, but once again, the order was maintained.
Mark, I don't think Frost was the only one that locked up. It looked like McGinnis might have as well. These guys pushing here in the closing laps.
Yeah, Robert McGinnis did lock him up, and he did so. Wasn't under any pressure, just, I think, misjudged the to that turn. But, normally when a guy locks him up to the extent that Frost did, Nick, he loses all kinds of momentum. But I think that gives you an idea of just how strong that car is off the turn when he gets back into the throttle, because he didn't lose any of that gap whatsoever by locking him up.
Frost in that red and white car driving for Andretti Autosport, a driver from the Singapore, another true road to Indy product as he is raced up and down the ladder system trying to hold on with now just 2 laps to go. Robert McGinnis starting to pull away, but Michael, now it's Frost under the attack from Sting Ray Robb and Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, indeed. Sting Ray Robb trying to get on that rear wing of Daniel Frost, so too Kyle Kirkwood. They climb their way through turn number 4. Again, Sting Ray Robb on the charge.
And Frost is thinking to himself, I can't do what I did last time by here into turn number 6. He does not lock him up this time. Robb is right there, and Kyle Kirkwood is really starting to move, trying to make a move on that 8 spot. Not able to do it. Exiting turn number 6. They now evenly space out with a car length and a half in between them.
And all of these drivers are within 1.5 seconds, so they can use the push to pass, the extra horsepower that they are given. But no doubt about it, they're all going to be wearing out that button. Up front, though, it is Linus Lundqvist making his way through turns 16 and 17. Michael Young, he's about to see the white flag. It's been a dominant run for the young driver from Sweden.
Yes, indeed. The 2020 FR champion won 15 of 17 races last year, and it looks to be his first win in this Indy Lights campaign. He is climbing his way up through turn number 4 and down into Charlotte's Web for the final time.
It is one of those dominating performances that strangely we didn't talk a lot about, because Linus Lundqvist from the outset all of a sudden made a jump, got a good jump on the restart, and he now is the front of 3 rookies that are on this podium. Nick Yeoman, he's working his way around here at Barber Motorsports Park.
He has made it look easy, Mark, and if you're a guy who has a championship mindset, that's exactly the way you want to start the season.
Well, Malukas and Kirkwood made the job a little easier for him with the contact they had into turn number 1, but he clearly had the run on both of them going into turn number 2, and a dominant performance by this young driver, close to a 6-second lead now as he works his way down that back straightaway.
He is just 22 years old. Stockholm, Sweden is home for Linus Lundqvist. This is also a debut weekend for the Global Racing Group, who is partnered up with HMD Motorsports, and what a debut weekend it's going to be. Out of turn number 17, Linus Lundqvist from Sweden will see the twin checkered flags. He will win the opening round of the Indy Lights Championship by a solid 5 seconds over his teammate Benjamin Pedersen. Pedersen actually had to hold on for the second spot over Devlin DeFrancesco. We're continuing to watch that battle further on back for 7th, 8th, and 9th. Frost trying to hold off Sting Ray Robb and Kyle Kirkwood. Those drivers going to finish the way they had battled throughout the course of this field. So it is Lundqvist, your race winner. Pedersen finishes 2nd. Devlin DeFrancesco is 3rd. Toby Sowery is 4th. A solid debut for Alex Peroni in the 5th position. And then that battle that we watched, Robert McGinnis comes home in 6th. Daniel Frost is 7th. Sting Ray Robb will finish in the 8th position. Kyle Kirkwood 9th. And Christian Bogle comes home in 10th, Mark.
Just got a shot of David Malukas showing that he's a team player. He's in that pit box. He's in there with the rest of the team, and he's high-fiving and shaking hands and congratulating everybody on a job well done today.
Yeah, and Rob Howden, if I still have you up, it's a kind of an interesting dynamic, this super team that has been formed in Indy Lights between HMD and certainly the Global Racing Group. What a debut weekend for them so far.
Yeah, you got to give it up to Henry Malukas and his team. They put this deal together. It's an HMD program, and of course Global Racing Group then coming to work with them. And man, you look at the drivers they brought in. They got Nikita Lostishkin as well. He's going to keep getting better and better, but I'll tell you, very impressive. And if you spend any time in the Indy Lights paddock or even the IndyCar paddock, you walk into HMD and you see guys that you know. AJ Smith is in there, Yancey Adia-Talevi. There are lots of veteran engineers and mechanics underneath that program. They have put all the time in, all the money in, and this team is getting ready to win races.
Hey, big shout out to all the fans there and on the back stretch at Barber Motorsports Park. I see a lot of them waving and saluting the 13 drivers for the Indy Lights Series. All those fans fired up to see these lights cars back on track, and Mark, certainly we're excited to kick off another championship.
Well, I can tell you, those are veteran fans.
Yeah.
And on those weekends, we've been at Barber Motorsports Park when the sun has been baking and things have been warmed up. They get there early and they grab those precious spots underneath that beautiful grove of trees. And, I'll tell you, it quickly became one of my favorite visits. George Barber and their entire crew there. They do such a great job. And as we mentioned, Southern hospitality. You'll experience it firsthand anytime that you're a patron and a guest at Barber Motorsports Park for sure.
And admittedly, listen, not the most competitive race up front as Linus Lundqvist dominates, but with the way that forms of entertainment for all of us over the last year, it is just so good to see lights, cars, and competitive motorsports back on the racetrack and fans on site to watch.
Well, we certainly want to congratulate our friend Gene Holman at Zoom Motorsports that helped promote this event for the folks at Barber Motorsports Park. Gene's a friend, been on this show many, many times. And, folks, if you're new to the Indy Lights Series, typically this is what you see. You start up front, typically you finish up front. However, if you go back 4 or 5 positions, you see some very competitive racing and a very evenly matched field, and that's exactly what you saw today, and it's great racing. Very entertaining for sure.
I see a pretty fired up and excited young Swedish driver down there on pit lane who's popping that helmet off. We'll hear from our race winner, Linus Lundqvist, shortly. Benjamin Pedersen, his teammate, comes home in the 2nd position. A really nice run for him. The Danish-American driver who calls Seattle home. And then Devlin DeFrancesco, really a solid debut for him, for Andretti Autosport to finish in the 3rd position. 21-year-old from Toronto. Nice run for him, who he's standing by on pit lane with Ryan Marine.
That's right, Devlin DeFrancesco, a podium on debut in the Indy Lights Series, presented by Cooper Tires. Looked like you were really coming on strong there late in that race. Does that give you some optimism looking ahead to tomorrow?
For sure, 100%. The Andretti Steinbrenner guys have done a fantastic job all weekend. We definitely started on the back foot, but we've definitely been making progress all weekend. I got to thank all the sponsors on board, Kumoa, Philo, One Plant Merchandise, Soul Yoga, everyone on board supporting me for this year. I can't wait for tomorrow.
Where have you seen the most progress this weekend, trying to get up to speed and bring the fight to the HMD GRG guys up ahead?
The fantastic work going on in the Andretti Steinbrenner truck with all the great engineers that we have. We've made a few good balance changes, and hopefully let's make some more progress tomorrow.
Got anything for him tomorrow?
I think so.
Best of luck. That's Devlin DeFrancesco, P3 in his Indy Lights debut.
Yeah, really solid run for the driver from Toronto to end up on the podium, where he will join Benjamin Pedersen and Linus Lundqvist. Wanted to give you, we went through the top 10 with Christian Bogle finishing 10th. It was Nikita Lashishkin coming home at 11th. Antonio Serravalle finishes 12th, and then David Malukas, the only driver out of the race who finishes last, 13th on the day. Let's hear from Benjamin Pedersen, also standing by with Ryan Marine on pit lane.
And we'll let Benjamin get the mask affixed to the face. Just got out of the race car, just got the helmet off as well. Born in Copenhagen, calls Washington State home. And how about it, a podium on debut? I want to go back to the first lap, though. I bet you had an interesting view of the coming together just in front of you up the road on the first lap. What did it look like from where you were sitting?
I'm a bit lost for words. What a debut for Global Racing Group. I've obviously been a part of this program since F4, and to make it all the way to Indy Lights now and start this way as a team, I mean, it couldn't be better. First lap, Kirkwood sent it in pretty late. I feel sorry for David, my teammate, who got hit there. Was looking forward to a good battle. But obviously I'm gonna, take the spot when they went wide, and Linus did a great job maintaining the gap. And just kind of maintain steady pace and bring it home 1-2.
Congratulations on a podium in your first outing in Indy Lights.
Thank you so much.
Now let's get to Victory Lane and Rob Howden.
I'll tell you, jubilation down here right now for the Swedish driver able to get his win. Stormed through to a championship last year. You didn't lift off the throttle at all in the offseason. You end up getting a victory here to start your Indy Lights career. Linus Lundqvist, tell me how happy you are right now. Describe some of the emotion.
Difficult to put into words, to be completely honest. Like you said, we are rookies and this is our first weekend, but to start off like this, it's a dream come true. Obviously, there's a very long season to go, but I just want to say a massive thank you to the team. Everyone I know who's been working so hardly over winter. This is the prize that we take now. So yeah, super happy with it.
The quality of the drivers under the tent as well. You, David Malukas, Benjamin, Nikita, you guys all push each other as well. So you got to win inside your team, not just on the racetrack. Talk a little bit about what you think tomorrow's going to look like for you. You're not going to start on the pole, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Very unfortunate for David that's been taken out in turn one. Otherwise, I expected a tough fight from him. I think we've seen that we're fairly closely matched around here. So obviously tomorrow he's on pole and I'm in second, but we'll see. Obviously we're going to go and try to go for a second win, but overall just very happy with how this race went.
You know, we're also on the Races YouTube channel. People watching internationally, listening to IndyCar Radio. You got a bunch of people back in Sweden that are watching. You want to say a couple words in your native tongue?
Oh, I really do actually. Jättetack till alla er där hemma som är hemma och tittar på det här. Förhoppningsvis har ni följt både kval och det här racet, så jäkligt kul att få se den svenska flaggan i topp här i Indy Lights, och hoppas att ni kollar imorgon igen.
Hey, as part of the Swedish invasion, folks, Felix Rosenqvist, Marcus Ericsson. Don't forget this name, Linus Lundqvist. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Nick, Linus Lundqvist, the winner today in Indy Lights.
Rob kind of led me into the point I was going to make, Mark. Marcus Ericsson, Felix Rosenqvist, 2 Swedish drivers already in IndyCar, and boy, if Linus Lundqvist can keep this up, it's a long 20-race championship. Looks like we may have another Swedish superstar.
And we mentioned his racing hero is Kenny Breck, who had a fair amount of success, I think, in open wheel racing. Likeable young guy and bad fast, obviously. He really drove a great race today.
A great job by Rob Howden and Ryan Marino on pit lane, Davey Hamilton, Jake Query, Michael Young, and my good friend Mark Janes. We're not done today on IndyCar Radio. Coming up, 2:40 Eastern Time, Indy Lights or IndyCar practice number 2, and then we'll end the day at 5:55 Eastern Time with IndyCar Knockout qualifying. Lights, they'll be back in action tomorrow. Same place you listened and watched the race today. You can do it again tomorrow at 1:10 Eastern. Again, congratulations to Linus Lundqvist, Benjamin Pedersen, and Devlin DeFrancesco. 3 rookies on the podium for race number 1 in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. I'm Nick Yeoman. You're listening to the IndyCar Radio Network.
Your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Finish coming home second place today, Benjamin Pedersen. Solid run for Benjamin. This season is going to be good in the top rung of the road to Indy. Guys, if you can, make sure you pick your trophies up for me, those of you on the podium right now. This guy here had a huge season in 2020, folks, coming out of the gate, trying to win a championship here for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of our first Indy Lights race of the year, Linus Lundqvist. Lundqvist, the winner. Grab your trophies, guys. Raise them up over your head, please. This is it, folks, the future stars of the NTT INDYCAR Series. I'll be talking about this throughout the season. Following in the footsteps of Colton Herta, Pato O'Ward, Oliver Askew, Felix Rosenqvist. You just keep going through the order. Renus VK, so many drivers who have plied their trade here on the road to Indy to develop their skills and be able to work their way to the top. Linus Lundqvist with the win. Benjamin Pedersen second. Devlin DeFrancesco third. We're bringing in one of our groups here, Doster Construction, who are part of the Anderson Promotions group here for a photo trackside in Tatis Victory Lane. Always fantastic to be able to work with some great groups as part of our Anderson Promotions team on the road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, bringing a lot of young people in to get a chance to fall in love with motorsports. And we're excited to have Doster Construction with us here. And again, what a run for Linus Lundqvist. Out front, started pole, got the job done. Some chaos behind him, but put down those consistent laps to get that early momentum in the Indy Lights program.
To Indy race fans, what an amazing afternoon we've had so far watching Indy Pro 2000 Race 1 and Indy Lights Race 1. Fantastic, but the excitement doesn't stop just after the races. We're here at the post-race show, and I've got podium finisher from Indy Pro 2000 Race 1, Manuel Suleiman. Manuel, good to see you. Fantastic drive. You started fourth, probably not where you wanted to start. Take me through getting up into third place. What an unbelievable pass going into turn 12.
Yeah, it was a good pass. We knew it was going to be difficult, you know, this track to overtake, and we took the opportunity we had, and it was a good pass. After that, we just managed the race, and it was a good race, good points, and we need to keep it up like this. We need to improve a little bit to be on the top, but as you said, yesterday wasn't our day. The luck wasn't really on our side, and the red flag at the end didn't help. So we started in such a such a good position tomorrow. So we need to work, and we're comfortable that we're gonna do a good job. So we need to keep pushing, and I thank the team that they done an awesome job.
Well, and to take the Road to Indy fans through what's happened, I mean, Manuel has been topping the charts in spring training. He was first in practice. You've really been dominant in the off season. Coming in, that first qualifying, you elected to use only one set of tires, correct?
Yes, exactly. They did a different strategy. We stuck with one set, so they have the advantage at the end. So, yeah, I mean, I think in that quali we were first like the whole session. Just
yes.
the last 4 minutes we missed that, and then the quali 2 wasn't really there, you know. So the red flag affected, but I mean we knew we had the speed, you know. We're always there. We just need to be consistent and intelligent, you know, to think ahead for the championship and just continue working as hard as we can.
You're wise beyond your years, Manuel. You've been fantastic. Last year we were teammates. Obviously, yes. You were one of the most impressive rookies. You gave me a run for my money on plenty of occasions, coming up with 2 race wins. What is your outlook for the season? Obviously, not probably the strongest start that you wanted to have. I'm sure you wanted to come in and win Barber. How does that change your mentality going into race 2 here at Barber tomorrow? You're starting, is it 15th?
Yes. No, 10th.
10th.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Starting 10th. What's your mentality for that race?
I mean, yes, the last year was a super year. You know, we had a good year, good experience. To be honest, I learned a lot. So yes, for sure, we wanted to win. You know, I always wanna be there on the top. You know, so sometimes you need to stay in that position and get the most points you can. You know, tomorrow it will be a race that is gonna be difficult at the start. You know, it's difficult to pass here, so we need to take the opportunities we have, and that's it. You know, concentrated on the next rounds, and St. Pete is just next week, so we need to keep the momentum going.
Oh, fantastic! And obviously, you're in Indy Pro 2000 right now. You're one of the championship favorites. Next year, Indy Lights, do you have to win to get there? What's your plan to get into Indy Lights?
I mean, yes, I think we need to be there top 3 at least, and yeah, we aiming to win. You know, I personally concentrate in every race. I think in the present, you know, in tomorrow and the race we have. So we need to concentrate on keeping up like that, working with the team as hard as we can, and we will be there, you know, on at the end of the season. So that's the mentality we have.
For sure. And what's it like racing for the juggernaut Juncos? I mean, they've won many championships on the road to Indy. Describe to me their mentality, maybe different last year from D-Force Racing.
Yeah, I mean, they really have experience, you know. They, as you say, they have won several championships with the Indy Pro, and they know what they're doing. They have a lot of confidence, you know, and they make decisions that they're probably difficult to take, but they're always there, you know, like especially the little details that make you to be on the top.
Oh, for sure. I can see that in your strategy. Obviously, it didn't play out this weekend when only using one tire and qualifying one, but if that had played out, you're almost guaranteed pole in race 2 if it wasn't for the red flag.
Exactly.
So it's unique to see teams on the road to Indy actually manipulating the tire strategy to their advantage. It's very cool to see, and it's awesome to see you in a great place. I definitely think you're going to be a front runner this year in the championship.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for coming on with us.
Thank you, mate.
We're going to get
Thank you
back to
very much.
commercials, but after coming up, we should be able to get one of the Indy Lights podium finishers on with us to talk about the Indy Lights Race 1.
What do you think? That's perfect. Thank you, mate. No problem. Are you...
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper! Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper! Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
The most anticipated Road to Indy drivers on the broadcast with us, fresh off of his first race in Indy Lights and first race, first win. What a way to do it. Linus Lundqvist, tell me about that. Was that just as easy as it looked?
Well, you know, Parker, it's never easy. You got to keep pushing all the way, but I just want to firstly say a massive thank you to my team. I know that these guys have worked so hard over winter to bring us a competitive package, and here we are, managed to get pole position and then the race win as well. I mean, it's a dream start to a season that any driver would want. So, yeah, we're just going to keep our head down. Obviously, another race tomorrow, but right now, just super happy with this.
Yeah, you're soaking it in. So, fresh off of a move to Indianapolis, what has it like been your rookie season in Indy Lights? Last year, you were not living in the U.S., but you came over here, obviously, for the championship that brought you in Indy Lights. What is it like to move to Indianapolis and really soak in Indy Lights and IndyCar?
It is very different. Like a move from Sweden is very different as any move is, but so far I'm definitely enjoying it. And I mean the biggest part and the most fun part is obviously the driving, especially when you're doing well. So that's what I'm here for, and that's why I'm here as well, to continue working and to continue to get wins, etc. But yeah, what a way to start the season.
What a way to start the season. And I have to say, for the first time in a long time, it looks like the Andretti juggernaut might not be so juggernaut. So describe to me the effort that Global HMD has put into coming into this year. I mean, right out of the gate, they've had 3 cars in the top 5 virtually every session.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we've been bang on the money more or less every session, which has been really good to see. Obviously, I know they spent a lot of time in preseason and winter making sure that everything on the car is as perfect as it could be. And then it's just up to you. Obviously, you know that you have a good package, but then it's also up to you to deliver. Very unfortunately for David, he got taken out now in turn 1, but I know that he would have been just up there with me. I think we've showed today that, or throughout the weekend, that we are very closely matched. And obviously tomorrow he's on pole, I'm in second, so I'm expecting a tough fight.
For sure. Now, Barber Motorsports Park, I would say, as a race car driver from Formula Cars, one of the toughest race car tracks to get around, especially in a lights car. I've never driven a lights car here. It was tough in an Indy Pro car. What is a lap like here on the edge? Obviously, in the race, you're managing tires, but pole yesterday looked just hairy.
Yeah, I think hairy is a pretty good word, especially at some places. It's one of those things where if you feel like you're in control, you're not going fast enough, and that's literally it. Like, you really have to throw it over the edge and just hope to survive the exit, more or less. But, you know, the qualifying yesterday was good. When you feel that you have a car that's very reactive and does what you want it to do, then obviously you get more comfortable and you start to play with it, and obviously you can push, and then hopefully the lap time's there.
When I think of Linus Lundqvist, I think of articulate with the tires. You know, I watch you in qualifying, your warm-up procedures and how you prep a lap, and then in the race, how you save the tire, you push when you need to. Are you really thinking about it, or are you just naturally, is it all feel?
Obviously, there's a little bit of thought behind it, and you just think about how you can treat the tire, and obviously you have a glance at the tire every now and then, see how it looks, and if you can help it in any way, and especially during a race run, obviously you want to start to build a gap and then just manage the gap in case there's a restart and save a bit of tire and energy as well, to be honest, because around Barber, it is very physical, and obviously the heat is starting to creep up as well, but we'll see tomorrow.
And what was your physical training like, obviously, coming? I know a lot of Indy Lights drivers complained to their neck after the first spring training. What was that first race like? You did your full stint now.
It was better than expected, I will say. Obviously, we gained a few laps with the safety car in the beginning as well, so that helped a little bit, but I felt under control. Obviously, I could still pick up the pace a little bit towards the end, both with the tires and myself, so it wasn't too bad. But we'll see tomorrow when the IndyCar is running a bit more and see how the grip is.
Oh, that's fantastic. Lastly, this IL-15 that everybody's been talking about, what is your take on the car? This is your first full race distance in it now. Is it as good as everybody says it is?
At least as good as everybody says it is, if not better. I'll tell you that. The Lara makes a great car, and I had the fortune to drive one in 2019 as well back in Europe, and this is my second year in a Dallara chassis car, and I just keep on loving them. I'll tell you that much.
Well, that's fantastic, and I think that's going to wrap us up. I'm sure we can't get enough of Linus, but with your talent level, I'm sure you're going to be back in the booth here very soon. So, Linus, thank you very much. Congratulations on race 1.
Thank
you.
And
we'll be back with Rob Howden to talk more about Indy Lights and Road to Indy action. And we are back with the most famous personality on the road to Indy, and your voice. I've been listening to it all day. It's so soothing.
Appreciate
Rob
that.
Howden.
Good to be here, Parker. What a race.
What a race.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited the way the season started. Obviously, Linus Lundqvist coming out of the gate strong. I had said before I kind of thought he was an unknown coming in only because we didn't have a quantification how good he did last year with all those victories in the FRA program, but he came out here and, of course, looked absolutely fantastic. Didn't put a wheel wrong.
So dominant. Now, I have to say, Barber Motorsports Park, I think, jives with him really well. You know,
They've tested here a lot, too.
They tested here a lot, and it's just his articulate way of thinking behind the wheel of a race car, I think, is a little bit above everybody else right now. You know, the way he warms his tires up in qualifying, I think, is different when I look at his lap times compared to everybody else. The way he manages the tires in the race. Obviously, we didn't get to see Malukas, and that was going to be I thought, the battle royale for race one.
Yeah.
Didn't get to see Malukas challenge him, but, Linus didn't put a foot wrong that entire race.
And he's raced here before. I think that's one of the key things. There are tracks that he's going to go to this year where he hasn't been to yet. Next week, of course, in St. Petersburg on the street circuit, that's a track he hasn't been to. So that could be different. But here, the testing they've done, knowing the racetrack, and the HMD global team is strong right now. Benjamin Pedersen coming in second. They showed everything today.
It's been a huge talking point for me. I mean, the Andretti juggernaut is not so juggernaut anymore.
They're not juggernautish?
No.
Yeah, agreed. And listen, again, a lot of testing. The way the schedule shook down. Spring training was here. A lot of HMD was here before that to test. They've tested a lot here, and I think that may have given them a little bit of an advantage coming into this weekend. Things will change potentially next week, but I don't want to take anything away from what they've done, right? They were able to come in here and get the job done. Andretti just has maybe some catch-up to do.
For sure catch-up. Yeah. And, you know, I look at HMD and how hungry they are. They really want to be that they want to fill in that gap.
Well, you've been in the road to Indy for a long time, so you know in the paddock, you look at some of the guys, A.J. Smith, Yancey Diatalevi, you go, Nathan Toney, you go under the tent, the people that they've assembled. I always say that a team, not only with the drivers, but it's also like assembling a basketball team or a hockey team, football team. You got to put the right players in the right place, right? And they've done that. They've brought a lot of good people to HMD.
Well, and I talk about it before, but Malukas, I think, is a very underrated driver on the road to Indy.
Agreed.
I mean, having raced with him before, I think he's just as quick as anybody in the Indy Lights field. And I think this year he's really going to come out of his shell and show what he's got now that he's comfortable.
Well, and I talked to him there in the interview afterwards. He had cooled down a little bit from the incident in Turn 1, and I said, how much different is David Malukas this year than he was last year? And one of the things he said is, I'm 19 years old right now. Remember, when he was running USF2000 and Indy Pro, he was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Now he's a 19-year-old young man, or he's a man now. He's grown up, and he did another full year racing last year. He's just changed so much, and there's confidence there. And I always say this, when you win that first race, you're going to open up the floodgates, and I think it'll happen for him in Indy Lights.
100%. And let's talk about what could have been. So we talk about Kirkwood, which is, I've raced against Kirkwood for a long time in my career. I have to say, now that I'm in the booth, this is about the most rattled I've seen him. I know he's had rough starts to championships, but we don't see that flash of fast that we once did.
No, not the fast, exactly right. The interesting thing is you look back to 2 years ago when he won the Indy Pro 2000 championship. He knocked a wing off at St. Petersburg, opening round. He knocked a wing off at the start of the race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. He's had issues on the opening laps of races. He's come back to win the championships, but this is not the new thing.
Well,
Kirkwood.
But here's the new thing, is when he knocked his wing off in St. Petersburg, I just happened to be involved in that race. But race 2, I'll never forget it. After he crashed out at race 1, race 2, he hunted me down. I was in the lead, and he took away my fastest lap, and that was going to be my weekend sweep.
There's your point.
And
That's
he
right.
took away my fastest lap, and that's when I said, okay, the Kirkwood, he's not going to lay over this year. He's going to keep pushing.
I hear you.
And unfortunately, I don't see him setting any fastest laps out there right now.
Well,
so
and it's this racetrack, too. St. Petersburg, a lot more places to overtake, obviously. The bend of the big straightaway. One of the issues, of course, here this weekend is push to pass was not used today. We had some issues with push to pass and the timing lines. So when they said they had it 99% fixed, but what about that 1%? Let's say we go racing and 7 guys have it and 6 guys don't. You can't do it. We didn't get a chance to test it in practice, so they elected not to have push to pass. This is a racetrack where push to pass would be, I think, pretty important in terms of raceability.
yeah, pretty important. But let's talk about the salt in the wound that is starting third. I mean, he really pulled one out in qualifying 1.
Yeah.
You know, he's been nowhere at the top. Gets into P3. I'm thinking, okay, Kirkwood, all right. You're proving me wrong. We're going racing.
Yeah.
And then turn 1. You know, I know he saw the gap. I was actually standing right in turn 1 and saw it. There was a gap there. It wasn't very big.
Yeah.
But, however, turn 1, we know you can't use a lot of brake there. You've kind of just got to roll the turn, let the car work. He didn't roll the turn.
Take a set coming through, yeah.
He was on the brakes all the way down to the apex, clipped his front wing off. Malukas goes around. and now he's at the back of the field, and he didn't make any progress. So
that's tough.
That's a dent in the armor.
And he's didn't qualify as well for tomorrow's race either, so this is going to be a gut punch to Kyle Kirkwood coming out of the gate strong to try to win this championship. He'll have to come back big time at St. Petersburg. We won't count him out for tomorrow, but David Malukas is going to be on the pole. He was pretty cheesed off after what happened. He's going to be so motivated to win tomorrow.
Well, and I can't wait to see the Battle of Royale. What would have been, could have been in race 1 is now going to come up in race 2. Let's see what, we know Linus can lead a race. Let's see if he can hunt.
That's true. That's very true, because Malukas is going to start on the pole tomorrow. He'll be able to jump away a little bit. Another guy that two guys I was really pleased with. Obviously as a Road to Indy insider, I always give up the driver of the race, and you look at it. Who is the driver of the race? Linus Lundqvist. You got to go with Linus, right? Because he wins out of the gate. But how about Devlin DeFrancesco coming home P3 to lead the Andretti guys? Pretty impressive, I think, for Devlin.
Yeah, rookie leading that team.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody saw that one coming.
No, I would have said, obviously McGinnis out of the gate first. A veteran driver, won last year on the road course at IMS. Kirkwood, of course, he's had such great success. But, yeah, Devlin, really, really strong journeyman run there.
Huge. So let's switch gears a little bit. Obviously, there wasn't just Indy Lights racing. There was USF2000 racing and Indy Pro racing. So
feels like yesterday. Yeah.
We started at the top, and we'll work our way backwards. Okay. We talk about your Road to Indy Insider move of the race.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that move Manuel Suleiman put on Hunter McElroy.
To be honest, I didn't see it because I was up. You'll have to describe it to me, because I was in the tower. All I could see was what I was given, right? Where was the move? Fill me in on it, because Suleiman seems like he's super, super excited right now. Like really supportive.
Super confident.
Yeah.
I mean, he just signed with Juncos, which is the juggernaut of Indy Pro racing. But it was up into turn 12, around the outside, down the hill, to inside of 13.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wow. Now, was this after McElroy had the issue with the front wing with the damage?
This is what caused it. It's what shuffled McElroy back. I'm sure he was changing his shorts after it.
I'm hoping for some in-car on this later on.
Well, I would love to see it. So we had Manuel in the booth.
Yeah.
He just unbelievable pass, I thought. He really did a great job. It's interesting. I've been watching a lot over there. Some of the guys are running 5th and on the limiter.
Okay.
And some of the guys are upshifting to 6th and going in 6th down the hill. Green cars obviously running 6th. In the draft, when the green cars had 6th gear and those guys were in the limiter, there was a big speed difference, and that's how he did it.
I can imagine. Now, tell me this then, Parker. You were his teammate last year. You saw him develop throughout the season last year. You were able to almost win a race. He ended up taking it from you after the issue with the engine. How much difference do you see in Manuel coming into the season than how he was like with you under the D-Force tent?
You know what? I think it's the same Manuel, just more mature.
Yeah.
I really see
every year,
him.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I've been around now on the road to Indy a little bit, and I've seen some of these kids grow up. And there's one kid I really want to talk about in USF2000 that has grown up a lot.
Let's go. Do you want to talk about Braden Eves first? Braden?
We have to.
You can't
go over that.
What a comeback. You think about the mental hurdle after the incident at IMS, and I really don't want to harp on the incident that much. It happened last year. It's a talking point, of course, this weekend. His first race back. He gets the victory. So we're going to talk about the wreck at IMS, but that's going to be behind us. Just the mental side to be able to come into this year, to do the testing he did, and then have the run at spring training, and then to come out here, put the car on pole with a new track record, and then get a new race record as well, winning the race. You just got to think about the amount of weight that is off his shoulders to start this season now.
Well, there is no more comeback of Braden Eves.
That's it.
We can get rid of it. He's here. He's arrived. We know he's quick. All the doubts, and we had Braden on actually, and I think you could just see the monkeys off his back now. There's no more. It's funny. He said that he didn't doubt himself, and I'm sure, I'm sure his conscious side wasn't doubting himself, but there was a part of him after a crash like that had to have thought, do I still have it? And I brought it up. The spring training wasn't impressive. They looked like they struggled.
To a certain extent, you got to hope that they were working on race sims. Obviously, something worked, but continue.
No, well, and you're 100% right. What do I know? Maybe they had to pull the sandbags out of spring training, and they came in here and they were quick. But they did a great job. 1-2, and let's talk about Exclusive Autosport just a little.
You spent time with them. You know the team.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool for Michael Duncalf. First 1-2 ever in Indy Pro.
Kimberly back home as well. Kimberly Duncalf.
Huge. And you know what? Not a lot of the Road to Indy teams are based in the U.S. and they don't have international connection. But Exclusive Autosport being Canadian, I mean, Michael's pretty well had to move down here to run his own team.
Indeed, yeah.
It's a lot of dedication.
And the first ever lockout of a front row for Exclusive Autosport, who have been here for a number of years. Of course, coming into USF2000 back in 17 with the new race car with you, and then to be able to do what they did here, a 1-2, fantastic run for them. Artem Petrov give it up for him as well, a P2 run. I just think that's such a good pairing. And they're two different drivers, right? And they're also two different characters. They're both a little quirky, which
you're
I
telling
like.
me.
But they're razor's edge kind of guys, and both with a bunch of talent.
No, and both they've got this, when you look at them, this just focus. Laser focus,
Yeah,
as Tom
that's a
Brady
really
might
good
say.
call, yeah.
I mean, Braden, not the most, I'm not going to say he's not the most outspoken. He's quiet. He's focused. Artem, obviously English being the second language.
Yep.
But even I think if English was his first language, he would be quiet
He's
and
calculating,
focused.
right?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
So we've talked about kids growing up on the road to Indy.
Okay.
I have to say the Cinderella story of this first opening day here on Road to Indy is Juven Sondermurthy getting his first win. Like,
huge.
Talk about goosebumps.
Yeah.
Talk about there was people crying here. I was almost crying in the booth as we watched the
Don't
victory.
start with me, because when I do Victory Lane, and you've watched a kid for so long, and the victory's there, you see the dad in tears, the mom shaking. You know, it's just everybody. It's just one of the. I try to not crack my voice. I always say if I'm wearing my sunglasses on the podium when I'm calling a podium, I'm probably holding back tears, right? Because it's just. For a kid like that, I remember when Juven came in with exclusive Autosport. He did a one-off at Mid-Ohio. He finished in the top 10 in all 3 races, I think. Got one of my drive of the race for my insider call. And then had a struggle last year at Pabst. And or the last 2 years, right? It was almost like he didn't have the confidence. And he ran with McElrea that year with McElrea and Bruno Tomaselli and Colin Kaminsky into that program. But, man, to be kind of the leader of the team right now this year, I like it. For him to be able to put the car on the pole and then not put a wheel wrong for a win, you can say this, how much does that change the psyche of a driver?
Well, we're talking about a young man who's never had a podium on the road to Indy for 3 years. And now he comes out and not only gets a podium, but goes out, gets a win, gets a track record briefly, and then goes out and, pole in a win to sweep the start of the weekend.
Against this field.
Yeah. And it wasn't all roses. He went out there. There was a yellow flag right away.
Yep.
He had to fend off a second-year driver, Prescott Campbell.
True, yep.
Did a great job of defending, staying within the rules, and then survived a couple restarts and went on to win.
And I talk about checking some of the boxes, right, that you have to do. Check. Qualifies on pole, check. First start from pole. The stress of bringing on the line and not spinning the tires, not jumping the start, check. Then the restart. Everybody knows the restart. It's a good chance to get jumped, right? St. Petersburg, really tough to restart. You don't want to be in front.
No.
You almost want to be in second. It's a better place to be on a restart. Here, a little different. But he got a good jump, was able to hold him off, and then gets that first race win, pulling away and putting down great laps. So Juven Sondermurthy, kudos to him for sure, and you're right. What a Cinderella story today.
And you talk about the boxes checked off. It's so funny because I did this the first time I led a race where it's like, you think you listen in the drivers' meetings. Every driver thinks he knows the rules, but until you get out there and then that pace car, the lights out, and the pace car leaves you, and you go, what do I do now?
How fast am I supposed to be going?
What do I – everything. The car sounds funny. Am I supposed to weave? When can I stop, warming up my tires? Okay, when's the acceleration zone? He took me through we were off the air. He took me through kind of his game plan. He's like, I didn't have a game plan. I just had to do it. And that is something – it doesn't matter how much you study.
Yeah. It's
when
natural.
When you get thrown into a game like that, you got to just make it through. And I hate to say it, we've seen guys for years be on the brink of getting that win, have many chances.
Yeah, you're right.
And not come through.
Yeah.
So monkey's off his back, too. That's fantastic. Obviously, we're the road to Indy. Coming up next is IndyCar. Let's talk about some of the graduates that have made it, and not just made it. I mean, I think my money's on a few rookies this year to challenge for wins in a championship.
Interesting. One of my thoughts was in a conversation I had with a couple of guys that have worked in the road to Indy and now are in IndyCar. That the conversation was not if Pato O'Ward will win, how many races will he win this year? And I think that's key, right? We saw him win a championship in Indy Lights last year. Almost was able to get the victory at Road America, only to get beat by another Indy Lights graduate in Felix Rosenqvist. How many races is Pato O'Ward going to win? How many races is Colton Herta going to win? Is the new generation from Indy Lights already here, right? We've got some impressive guys out there. Jack Harvey as well.
Well, I think we can stop asking the question because really they are here.
Yeah,
I mean,
week
in and week out, you've got Colton Herta, Pato, and not just are they there, they're exciting. I have to say, and I may be biased because I want to be one of those guys coming up, getting that rookie spot in IndyCar. But at the same time, I watch Pato, I watch Colton, I watch Rosenqvist. They have flair.
Yeah. Same with Renus VK, right?
Oh, how did I forget Renus?
Yeah.
Raced directly against him.
He's going to win races.
You know it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I know we talk about Renus. He obviously just had the crash at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but they have no fear these days.
It's very true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
I mean, it was the 4th lap at IMS, and he was already flat.
Yeah. He'll learn. I'm sure they sat him down and said, listen, we can warm the tires up a little bit. But that still speaks to the fact he doesn't care. He's going out there to get the job done.
So lastly, let's talk about the IndyCar format change, because they're only racing Saturday, Sunday this weekend. You give the rookies the advantage, you give the veterans the advantage. And then rookies, when we talk about the rookie field, we're talking about Scott McLaughlin, we're talking about Jimmy Johnson, and Roman Grosjean.
Yeah, nice rookies, right?
Yeah, real nice rookie crop.
And no, I don't give the rookies. I think you go back to some of the veteran drivers, at least second-year drivers and third-year drivers, because you've got to get the job done so fast here. And the track, I think we haven't talked about the fact, you may have, the Barber track changes so much depending on the time of day you're on the racetrack, right? It's so temperature sensitive. So I think that the guys that have been here before, you're going to see Dixon up front. Newgarden loves this racetrack. Those guys are going to be closer to the front, although you look at guys like Pato, like Alex Palou. I think Palou showed really good last year. So I think it's more the second year and veterans that are going to show. McLaughlin no look good in that morning warm-up, or that morning practice.
He did. So obviously we can hear the cars going around the track. It's practice one for IndyCar. Rob, we've got the first 3 rungs of the Road to Indy's races done.
Yep.
More action this afternoon.
One more to go. USF2000 will wrap things up. This time, though, even sooner. Murthy, I want to say, starting like 15th in the back. Another third-year driver, the Nolan Siegel on the pole for D-Force Racing.
And he was 10th this morning, Nolan Siegel.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, the grid is just flipped.
And here's the question. Who saved tires? Does anybody have a fresh set of tires for race number 2? The big difference, USF2000 raced at 8 o'clock. 0 IndyCar rubber. IndyCar's going to be on the track twice for long sessions. This track's going to be different when USF2000 comes back out.
That is a huge point, Rob. I'm glad you brought it up. We can't wait for race 2 of the USF2000 Championship. You can catch that on Road to Indy TV live with me.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!